Well, hello there, my friends. It's been a week, has it not? It has been a week. Today's Friday, the 31st of July, year of our Lord 2026. We're coming to the end of the week. Here on the channel, we've been looking at a few different cases. Of course, a lot of stuff has been happening in true crime beyond the cases just that this humble show can cover. And on Fridays, we like to just sit back, relax, have a good hang with our friend Elizabeth Jones from Hillbilly Crime. So that's what we're going to do. Javi, spin up that music. Here we go. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello there. Welcome back. And join me, will you, in welcoming back Elizabeth Jones, Hillbilly Crime. Elizabeth, how you doing?
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me back.
Thank you for coming back, making time in your schedule. You are going to be live streaming yourself after this tonight? I,
Well,
I forgot to ask.
I have a ball game, so as soon as I jump off with you, I'm going to run to the ball game, and then if we get back, depending on what time it is when I get back, we might have one, we might not.
What season is it right now? Are we talking basketball, baseball? What are we talking?
Baseball. They had a senior
Baseball.
league baseball, summer baseball,
A summer
little
league.
league. Yeah, it's little league, but they call it the senior league. It's like the oldest for the oldest kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My our children took pity on me and weren't interested in sports the older they got. So, we did t-ball and we did, little league, and I think we did Cal Ripken League, stuff like that. And then they were done by the time they were like 12. Though we do have a kiddo right now who's in middle school he loves soccer, and he's doing pretty well. So I might have to have a new experience with this one. I haven't had to go through high school with an athlete. My kids have
Uh,
all been nerds. And I love it. They've been like theater nerds and stuff like that.
Well, ball is the most exciting thing. It is for me, where I've been a single mom and we didn't have a dad in the house. Ball, I just felt like that was the next best thing. If I couldn't give it to them at home, then hopefully through their coaches, they would have good male examples and role models. And it's really turned out to be just that. It's worked out. And they're athletes.
That's terrific. That's
Yeah.
terrific. No, my dad, who just turned 78, whose own father died when he was 7 years old, still to this day talks about how his mom was at every game, and it's like it makes a big difference. Not just that the organized sports and being around other kids and being around male role models and in their coaches and all that stuff, but also seeing their mom being supportive of that. I mean, 70 years from now, your kids could be thanking you for making that effort. So good on you. That's awesome. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thanks.
What have you been covering on the channel this week?
Well, we've really stuck with the Siders case.
Yeah.
We've really stuck on that. There seems to have been kind of new updates and new things to talk about every day, so we've hung right in there with it.
Yeah, surprisingly, well, we're before the great hiatus on every case, right? Where we get tons and tons of churn until it's all going to go away. And I was really concerned because one of the attorneys wanted to file motions under seal, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to slow us down." But the judge was like, "No. No. We're not going to do that." And it's been awesome because Ohio is a pretty open state and easy to get information out of.
Pretty transparent, aren't they?
Yeah. I checked the Common Pleas Court again, like right before we got on, and nothing new. But yeah, that's a case. That's what I know. The last time we talked, um, you were kind. How do I? I don't want to mischaracterize it, but kind of leaning towards, hey, Elizabeth Siders here. She's a victim in here, and it's not like this is new. People live in filth all over the place.
Mhm. Well, you know me, waffle queen.
Yeah, have you waffled a little?
I have. So, you know, I feel like they had this fear of the government. I think that maybe the men, um, I still feel like Elizabeth went into that family as a child, and
Sure.
maybe had some kind of, um, she got indoctrinated being in, you, you tend to, absorb the people's belief systems who are around you. It's just the way that it is. Influence is a very heavy thing to resist. And as a 13-year-old, and they were the ones that were providing for her, or 15. Some people get really upset when we miss mistake the number.
Well,
She went
definitely 15. At least 15.
at least 15. I think she may have started living with them when she was 13, but then got pregnant and then got married. But regardless, she was still in with that family. And so that influence was around her. Now, were they distrusting of the government? You know what a sovereign citizen is.
I do. I guess what I would say is I have a surface understanding of the idea. Um,
They're anti-government.
yeah,
You know, no registrate. They don't believe in registering their vehicles, and they're not driving. They're traveling. They're not contracting with the state. Now, I'm not calling the Siders sovereign citizens. I'm just saying there's a there's like a mindset that's anti-government, that's a very there's all different levels of extreme too,
sure.
from severe to just a little taste of it.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe they had a little bit of that paranoia of the government's, out to get us. But I think it was based on the fact that they knew that that CPS would take their kids if they ever got close enough and saw how they lived. And so they knew, that they were going to lose their kid.
Yeah, that's interesting. And that being the incentive, I guess you're saying for hiding them, making it so
Yeah.
that kids or people in the neighborhood wouldn't know, or maybe choosing even a place to rent where
Yeah.
it's in the middle of nowhere. You got a railroad track on one side and the woods on the other, and you're just hiding things.
And I also think that several of those kids are severe. I think it's going to turn out that they are severely intellectually and maybe even physically disabled.
Mm.
Um, have you ever spent any time at all inside of a facility for special needs
Uh,
children or adults? Or
no, I mean I've no, not in a facility. No.
Well, I worked in one when I was in high school. I worked
Okay.
in one during the summer, and
Mhm.
there is a smell in there that is unlike anything I've ever smelled in my life. I've never smelled it since. And it's body odor, it's, you know, feces, it's urine, it's just a combination of, all of the above. And so I'm wondering, if that couldn't possibly be, what we're gonna see with some of the kids, like the ones that they said were so in such bad shape. I mean, I have no idea. I could be completely wrong, but
Yeah.
it kind of seems it. All of that kind of seems to fit, you know. But
Yeah,
I,
and I mean, I was going to say unfortunately, it's not unfortunate. the victims here are juvenile, so there's a lot that we will never know.
Mhm.
And I kind of am feeling like the attorneys are angling for, hey, we never have to take this to trial. These people are incompetent. They need to be wards of the state. Let's get them the help that they need. That's what it feels like to me. Like,
I wish that's what they would do. Don't you?
yeah, yeah. I mean, did you see the order for Gary Siders, the younger junior G2, as I call him? The whole it used the Ohio legal term. It used the words mentally retarded. I know that we say intellectually disabled now, and I know I looked it up after my show last night. That is the federal term. Like, that's the federal legal term. But that document was full on going, hey, find out if Gary Siders 2 is intellectually disabled, if that guy is.
Hmm.
And if he is, give the court recommendations on what
To do
treatment,
it.
or what do we do with him.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
I I mean,
Eh,
it's now been 3 of the 4 where we have those kinds of requests.
yeah. And this is just a a fact of life here. Boys grow up to be men,
This is
and
true.
they may not be fully working developed up here, right? But the rest of them, their bodies work just fine,
Hmm.
you know. And so, I mean, one of the questions that I was wondering is where have they been? I know, sorry, I don't mean to get graphic or rude or anything, but where they been getting it on at? Like they got all these kids, they got that house. I mean, they're all sleeping together. You know,
Yeah,
they're not
yeah.
clean. They're all so nasty and dirty. Like, what is really going on here? Where was this taking place at? I mean, I have lots of questions.
I had not let myself ask that question, but it is the obvious question, right? It reminds me, what is the movie? It's a Kevin Costner movie, Dances with Wolves. It's like that scene in Dances with Wolves where he wakes up in the TP and he turns over and there's a couple doing it, right? He's like, "What is going on?" And they look back at him like, "What are you looking at? This is our time, right?"
Yeah.
Like, that was a tiny little house with only a few rooms and 20 people in it from age year and a half up to 73 or whatever it was, right? What are
And
they doing?
we know that it only takes one time, but come on. I swear I think they need to study her. Like, I think she could absolutely be not an experiment, but a study, like study her genetics or whatever kind of, I don't know, whatever,
Yeah,
study
yeah.
it. I want
No,
to know.
I this is horrible. But um I think I've shared with you before that my wife, she hated being pregnant.
Yeah.
She feels honored to be a mom. She loves that she's a mom, and she was I wouldn't say happy. She would gladly go through those 40 weeks in order to be a mom and have the kids in our family that we have, but she did not enjoy 1 second of it. And like, I used to make fun of her. She would go, "Look how huge I am," and she's like,
Oh,
it looks like she's got like a softball, under her shirt. Like, you're not huge. Oh, she just hated it, right?
yeah.
Um, but I know a couple of folks that have 15 kids that she has expressed to more than one person that she is her happiest when she is with child.
I said that
Oh,
at the
yeah, you
each
said that one time.
Each time I was pregnant, that was the best I ever felt emotionally. I don't necessarily think that Elizabeth would be knowledgeable, or maybe even, forgive me, Lord, smart enough to put it, maybe educated or whatever, but the word is. But I don't think she would be able to put that together. That would. Do you?
I wonder. I just. I don't know. Like I don't
I don't think
mind
she's that
saying it.
smart.
I don't mind saying it. Maybe the intelligence is just very very low, and she doesn't understand what's happening. Like, why does this happen to me? What? Let's see. She has two sets of twins, the conjoined twins, so that's six equals three. So we've got 15 more. What is that? Has she been pregnant like 14 times? Is it like 14 times or something like that she is pregnant? Could she
I
possibly be like, I don't know why this keeps happening to me? Is that even possible?
Well, that's a good question. That's a really, really good question. Because,
It's
I
15
mean,
times.
I know that they have access to phones and TV and stuff, but, we only have the knowledge that we have because we learned it. Somebody taught it to us. We were given a book, we were given a something, a TV show where we heard it. Like, if you really think about it, if nobody ever told you where babies came from, if nobody ever told you what it was, if you didn't ever see it or hear about it or whatever, I mean, I'm not saying that she didn't know. I'm just saying, if nobody ever had that conversation with you, would you really have the knowledge that like
I don't
we.
know. We've all seen Blue Lagoon. Yeah, the first time they're like, I can't believe this has happened. The second time, wait a minute, maybe there's something to, it's like by 14,
Well, yeah,
15 times.
I mean,
I
common sense. I'm just saying.
I'm just wondering if it's just that she likes to be pregnant. That's what I wonder. Like it feels good. Maybe she gets attention. Maybe it's like, oh, another bundle of joy.
I doubt that.
I
She's
wonder.
hiding it. Attention from who?
Yeah, that's true. Other than, well, attention from G2 maybe. I don't know. I don't know. This is all speculative, but
I
it's
know. And listen, I want to say something else too. I I said this about myself. I had to kind of grab a hold of myself. And then I saw somebody put a comment. Several people commented, and they were like, everybody is portraying their own trauma onto this Siders case. And that's exactly what we're doing. It's exactly what I've done. I know. I see this case through a bias of my own trauma, and we want there to be an explanation for this. We want to find some reason to grab onto why this happened. And I think that I've just been a little bit too naive about it.
well, we it is true that we all do see the world through a lens of our lived experience, right? There's nothing untrue about that. Um, I don't know that we are pushing our own trauma onto them. I mean, it's an extreme case. I think the reason that we react the way we do is because it's so extreme. Like,
Do you think it's 100 years in prison type case?
no, I don't.
I don't either.
No,
I don't either.
but maybe committed to the care of the state to kind of teach them what life should be, and maybe analyze where they are developmentally and figure and no, they do not get. I don't think they get their kids back. Like,
No,
you
no, I
know,
don't
like
think so either. I don't think that they should not have any contact. I don't think that they need to have custody of them, but I don't think that they should cut off all contact to where you can never speak to your mother again.
Well,
I
I
think that
wonder how that works because, well,
unless the kids didn't want to.
yeah, for me, it's about the health of the children more than anything, right? Like the 1.5 year old doesn't ever have to see her mom and dad ever again
Yeah,
because in a couple of months, that child,
yeah.
or I'm saying her, I don't know if it's a boy or girl, but like,
When?
are they twins? I don't
Yeah,
remember. Yeah, they're twins. But anyway, like for me, it's about the health of the children and the safety of the children. And uh, talking about projecting our own experience onto this, I have a cousin who has passed away. I grew up with him. He was just a couple years older than me, and he had all sorts of issues that were like the emotional. What would I say? How would I say this? Just emotional baggage that it seemed like it got worse when he confronted it as an adult. Like he wanted to go on this journey of understanding who he was, where he came from, who were his parents,
mm,
things like this, right? And as an adult, went on that journey, and it did him no good at all.
yeah,
In fact, he told me he wished he'd never done that. He wished he'd never known about the adoption, you know,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. For me, it's all about the kids.
Sometimes that can happen, sometimes, and I think that's circumstantial or, situational. I think that would, depend on each case, of course.
Sure.
But I can see how that could happen.
Yeah. It's a, it, I don't know. It's a sad case. Now, I don't know. I think that the elder siders are, I mean, I don't know. My, my, not my ancestors. Yeah, they're my ancestors. Like my grandma lived all the way up into her 90s. My grandpa up into his late 80s. But I see pictures of like Christina Siders, who's in her 60s, and I go, she's knocking on death's door, man. So
Yeah,
if she were committed to a state facility, even for a short time, for like 3 or 4 years, that could be a life sentence for her.
yeah,
Certainly him.
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but both of them, any real time, I think is a life sentence for them. I don't think that I think they're short timers, both of them,
Yeah. Just
unfortunately.
yeah. I the oh, what was one of the arguments that I read in the paperwork? Well, it brought up that Christina has mental health issues and medical issues,
Hmm.
right? And yeah, of course, G wanted what I think he had had a stroke, and you know, I saw reporting today from PBS that misreported that all four of them are still in custody. Um,
Where is G1? That was what I wanted to ask. Where's he at?
he's released on his own recognizance. We do not know where.
I wonder who's took him in. Yeah, I would think that CPS, Adult and Family Services, or Children and Family Services, would take
Maybe.
him.
I hadn't even considered that, but that might be the case. I mean, on Christina's motion for a release on her own recognizance, it talks about she has family in the area that she can be with. She doesn't have to be in contact with her co-defendants. It talks about family members.
Well, they're coming out of the woodwork since this happened. There's family everywhere now. Not to
Yeah.
change the subject, but um, a case that's really kind of grabbed my attention is this Nolan Wells case.
Yeah.
Man, what do you think about it? About all this stuff with Crump and Officer Tatum. I love Officer Tatum.
Okay, so I'm not sure about the Officer Tatum thing. Crump is the lawyer, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a little cynical about um, lawyers that are grandstanders more than they are representatives of their client. And
Mm,
I mean, he is effective in that he's gotten a lot of attention on the case. They've raised a lot of money. And it doesn't seem like they're a family that needs it, right? They're two
mm.
professionals and everything, but they've raised a lot of money. They've gotten the attention of Al Sharpton, which immediately puts my like weird antenna up. Like, okay, you got Sharpton here, right? Like, that guy just rubs me wrong, man. Yes. So, okay. So I keep coming back to, um, okay, let's ignore the sideshow. Let's ignore the circus
Uh-huh.
and see what the facts of the case are. I did see that his friend's dad put out like a $50,000 reward for information. Blah 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 blah. It seemed like a little bit of a stunt to try to get attention off of his own son.
Yeah.
And
Have you not seen all
what?
the Officer Tatum stuff?
No, tell me about Officer Tatum.
Do you know who that is?
No, I have no idea.
Well, he's a YouTuber. Okay, so he's a fellow
Okay.
YouTuber, and I think he's a former police officer, and he does like body cam videos and stuff, and then he gives commentary.
Okay.
Well, he came out and Crump, blasted him, and was like, "You are just stoking the flames of racism with this." And he came out and was basically attacking Nolan's friends, accusing them of doing something to Nolan. And so Officer Tatum went and sat down with each of those boys and gave interviews and stuff. I got all of it too from
Wow.
what, I've got you. But
Okay.
he's done all these interviews, and he's went out to the place where they actually got onto the boats and stuff at the boys' house, and pulled the CCTV footage of where they left that day. And that was just, he proved the things that Crump was saying, untrue, or debunked them or whatever. And he just really has come out and blasted Crump big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crump is, to me, it's just, he seems to me like he's one of those characters that is a look at me kind of a character, you know? Just, yeah. Now, I always want to go back to what happened to Nolan Wells, right? What happened to this poor kid? And I think it's plausible that there was. I think it's plausible that there was some untoward activity happening, but I think it's likely that he met a hot girl, said, "I'll stick around," was thinking with the southern pole instead of the northern pole, and forgot his phone, and like, dude, I just remember when I was 18 years old. I know, of course, this was like prehistoric times, and so we don't have cell phones and stuff like that. But if
Yeah.
I was interested in a girl, like maybe I met her 3 minutes ago, but if I was interested in that girl, then everything outside of my focus on that didn't exist, right? It just didn't exist. And this was, I mean, it's actually a healthy thing too. I mean, it becomes pretty extreme when you're a teenager and you're starting to figure these things out, right? You're acting in the extreme, but it ends up being pretty good practice for finding a life partner and a good spouse and all that stuff later on, right? But yeah, so if I were Nolan Wells and I am on this Outer Banks island and sun's out, music's playing, everybody's drinking, the everybody, the men, the women, they're all scantily clad and looking good because they're young and handsome and beautiful and all that stuff. And he sees somebody, he's gonna be, yeah, he could have just, yeah,
I
guys, see you later. I'm gonna stay here because look at that.
He could have just slipped and
Yeah,
fell and hit his head as and went down behind the boat and nobody ever saw it. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Something as simple as that could have happened and happened so fast that nobody noticed, you know? Uh,
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm thinking may have happened. I think that if there had been a big fight or anything like that, someone somewhere would have seen something.
I agree.
I kind of just feel like he just disappeared. And where is he going to disappear? He's going to disappear down. He's going to go under the water
Yeah.
and nobody's going to see him, especially if he's um, on the backside of a boat or, down in between boats. You saw how all those boats
There's
were
like a flotilla. Yeah. They're just parked there. Yeah.
any of the any of the above.
And like, here's the lens of experience, right? If you aren't used to seeing something, you don't recognize what it is that you are seeing.
Yeah,
That's why lifeguards are so important, right? They are trained to look for specific things that are indicators that there is distress.
yeah,
And the rest of us are all just like in our own little world. Meanwhile, 10-year-old 10 yards from us is
yeah,
actively drowning, right?
yeah,
And another thought on that, like when I went to flight school, and all of a sudden my view of the world that I had grown up in, the world that I mean, I am not directionally challenged, Elizabeth. If I've ever been anywhere once in my life, I can find my way back. If I've
yeah.
been there once, I'm good. And like Kimberly just checked me on this while we were back in California. I hadn't been to a place since I was 14 years old. I drove right to it, right? But the moment that you're 1,000 feet in the air or 10,000 feet in the air and the view of the world is different, it's a new view. There's
Yeah.
there's no seeing, there's no understanding what it is that you're seeing without training. So maybe Nolan Wells actively like bumped his head back there, lost consciousness. Oh, this is reminding me. Have you seen that video of the guy? That's a guy recently got convicted of murder. Oh, I have to show you this. It's on my Facebook page. I have to show you this, Elizabeth. A guy
Please.
recently got convicted of murder. Yeah, I'm gonna see it. Okay, just yeah, I want to see the video, dude. Okay, look at this. Facebook just like covers it up and is like, "Hey, this video may be shocking to watch." Okay, yeah, I want to see it. It may, yeah, see video, and then it just does that again.
Wonder why.
Like what? But okay, I will just describe this scene. You can kind of see it here. It's on a dock, and we're looking at closed circuit TV. And this dude walks up to another dude, and they like run into each other, and the one dude like falls back and hits his head, and
I
he's
saw that.
unconscious.
I
Yeah,
saw that. Throws him in the water.
and then he just throws him in the water, right? And the thing
I
that we
saw
don't think about is humans don't float. We only float if there's air in our lungs. If we right,
that.
so
Hmm.
he just like sunk to the bottom, right? Just
Yeah,
done. And that could have happened to Nolan Wells. He loses consciousness, he goes in, he goes down,
yeah,
and he doesn't come back up until he starts to decompose and those gases start to form inside the body and everything.
yeah. And with the boats, where there was so much boat traffic that day, I'm sure that that would have pushed him somewhere too
Yeah,
around.
it
You know.
churned things around. Yeah. Sass says money raised went to fund the second autopsy and rewards for info. Tatum is a Tom. Does that mean an Uncle Tom? Is that what that means?
Yeah, I think
There
so.
wouldn't there wouldn't be a grand jury investigation without Crump Circus. I had to pay for this to call y'all out y'all dog whistle. I don't feel like we're sitting here being racists.
No, well, I sure ain't.
I no. Thank you for the super chat, but no, like this is a poor kid that lost his life, and it
That's Trump
and
supporter.
it's possible that he was murdered. It's possible, but I think it's way more likely that it was an accident.
Yeah. You know, don't you like there's a level to where every time you look at a case and you are just I guess it's a form of tunnel vision actually. If you're just everything that you look at, you have to look at in a negative, or I mean, we're going to look where the evidence is going to take you where truth is, but still, I not just because I talk about something doesn't mean I'm criticizing it. Just
Sure.
we can have a discussion and talk about stuff and not make it a criticism. Just
Sure.
because I do have problems with some professional behavior and some professional conduct and performance. Because I criticize someone's professional performance doesn't mean that I hate that person and I'm gonna now everything that they do, I've got to come and then just attack, 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 attack.
Yeah.
That's not me. That ain't me.
Yeah. And like, okay, you can have your opinion, and thank you for sharing it. It's perfectly fine. Uh, I I think about like, okay, if $750,000 went to an autopsy, then they overpaid. Okay, that
Yeah.
I know what these cost because I have helped families raise money to exhume, ship, have an examination, ship back, and reinter. I know what these things cost now. Like in
Yeah.
the latest 2024. Okay, I know what this cost. It was not $750,000.
Right.
Come on.
Right.
So yeah,
And
yeah,
I want the receipts. I don't believe nothing nobody says about $1 unless you show me the receipt.
yeah. I agree. I agree. Sad case though. Freaking
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. We have one very similar here in Kentucky. Did you see that? I
No,
think
what is
he
it?
wrote a Yeah, I think he wrote an article
Which,
on it.
which one is
The
it?
girl, the real pretty girl with the dark hair, I forget her name.
Yeah. Um.
She had went over off the side of a boat. Unless I got this wrong, but to the best of my recollection, she had went over the side to pee or something, and then she never did come back up. But the um, the picture that's being circulated of the boy that got arrested for driving the boat
Yeah.
uh, while drinking, everybody's really, really come out in his defense and said that he was the only one that really went and looked for her. And that's why he got the DUI, because he told on himself that he had went back to look for her.
Yeah.
And through several comment threads, because I live here in Kentucky. I mean, I don't live in the same town that happened in, but we're not very far and we got a lot of the same readers.
Yeah.
So,
I'm looking for this case, but it's a case like that, and everybody's like, "Oh, he got arrested for DUI." Well,
mhm.
yeah, he.
But I don't think that, the people are really coming to that boy's defense, because there were so many um, people that shared his mugshot and attached him to this case in a way that maybe he had done something to her. But the people are really
This is Marley Kinney. That's who
there.
that
You,
is.
yeah,
Yeah,
Kenny.
that just happened last month.
Beautiful. one of the most beautiful girls I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. Pretty
So
sad. Real sad.
read what it says up there.
You want me to read my post?
Yeah,
The article?
you
Uh,
do a great job.
Marley Kinney went on to Grayson Lake with friends and didn't come back. A month later, investigators say they're still evaluating new evidence. The official timeline starts on Wednesday, June 24th. Kentucky Fish and Wildlife says Marley was reported missing after she didn't return with a group of friends on a pontoon boat rented from Grayson Lake Marina in Carter County. Game wardens led the search with help from Kentucky State Police, fire departments, emergency management teams, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, State Park Rangers, divers, sonar, drones, helicopters, canine teams, and more than 50 local volunteers. Her body was recovered from Grayson Lake about 3:45 p.m. on Sunday the 28th. Her family had been notified. The Carter County coroner responded, and officials said the state medical examiner's office in Frankfort would determine her cause of death. And then I haven't found that yet. I certainly hadn't by a few days ago. Okay, Cameron Conley was arrested, 23-year-old Ashland man who'd been operating the pontoon boat after he reported he couldn't locate a female passenger. Local reporting citing the arrest citation said police smelled alcohol, saw bloodshot or glossy eyes. I think I was supposed to say glossy eyes. It said Conley told them he'd consumed alcohol before a preliminary breath test showed .137. He was charged with operating the boat or watercraft while intoxicated under the influence. And then I just, finished it out with what they said about Marley. But yeah, this is actually a very similar kind of case, right? Where everybody on the boat was probably drinking.
Yep.
Everybody, they were having a great time. They were at the lake. They were having a great time. And would they notice if that? I mean, the poor girl goes overboard.
Yeah. And especially if she had to go over the side to go pee.
Yeah,
You're going to go over the side, you can go out by yourself. Well, if you slip, you know how slippery those rocks and stuff are in around water. I can't tell you how many times I've about busted my tail or my,
yeah,
thank God, not my head. All it takes is you to lose your balance the wrong way and catch the back of your head and, you know,
yeah. Well, I hope that the official autopsy in Nolan Wells comes back with the facts, right? Like the second autopsy that they did that they released came back undetermined, and I think the the pathologist who did it correctly in that there were things that were withheld, like his lungs, for example, right? I can't tell if he his cause of death was drowning because I can't examine his lungs because they were withheld by
mhm.
the medical examiner properly. He should have done that, right? It's evidence. So
Yeah.
I am looking forward to figuring out or hearing what the cause and manner is. Having said that, I also am keenly aware of cases like Ellen Greenberg, Amanda Winkowski, David Elmquist, where official causes and manners come back, and I go, mm.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping my mind open on Nolan Wells.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't have much faith in our modern law enforcement agencies these days. I just think that competence level has shot down so much since I think since we started being able to take all of our certifications and our trainings and stuff online as a module.
Quality has gone down.
Hmm. Yeah, quality knowledge. Think about it. I mean, if you're not made to know something, why you gonna learn it? I mean, yeah, in
Sure,
school,
unless you want to learn that thing, right?
right?
Unless you have something inside you.
Hmm.
When it comes to medical examiners, though, I the only thing that makes me suspicious of a finding by a medical examiner is if there is interference by the police. If the
Mhm.
police just step back and say, we're going to wait for the medical examiner's finding, and then the medical examiner gives the opinion, and there is no whiff of a smell of the police being anywhere near that opinion, then I tend to have a faith in the medical examiner system and the coroner system too, because they use pathologists. But as soon as I see police saying, "Hey, we'd like a meeting," or there was a meeting that we held at the medical examiner's office to show our findings or our investigation or anything like that, that's when I go, no, no, there needs to be more investigation into this. And that is like the common thread. And I've got a buddy who is a medical examiner. I've actually got two friends. No, well, I've got a buddy who's a medical examiner, and I've got two friends that are forensic pathologists. No, I shouldn't say forensic pathologists, who are pathologists, right? So they had to go through the forensics part of their education that was like a year long, right?
Yeah.
And they both worked in coroner's offices. Actually, it was in the same coroner's office, and they all three have told me the amount of pressure that the pathologists get from police is almost unbearable. One of the two forensic pathologists, or I'm sorry, I keep saying forensic pathologists. One of the two pathologists that I know told me she decided to be a hospitalist because of that. She didn't want all of that pressure. She wanted to have a lab
Mhm.
and do her investigation, write her findings. She studied under Cyril Wecht. Both, actually, come to think of it, both of them studied under Cyril Wecht in Allegheny County, right, Pennsylvania. These were highly trained people, and at least one of them was like, "I need out of here."
Well, it's the political pressure. It's the political machine, and that's the reality of it. It's in with the coroner's office. It's in with the police department. It's in your prosecutor's office. It's everywhere.
Yeah, and I harp on this all the time, but I'm very big on that there are incentives and disincentives for human behavior, and most of the time it's predictable what you will do based on the incentive that's working on you, right? It takes a stout personality to buck your own nature. So, if police are in there, and what is their incentive? I just don't want another homicide investigation. I've got 26 of them on my desk right now. If
Yeah.
we can just chalk this up to an accident, if we can just chalk this up to, they did it to themselves, then we can just tie a little bow on it, and and if, like, they can feel that way, they're okay. It's okay to feel that way because that is human nature, but it is not okay to pressure over here. There's supposed to be a wall between those two investigative sides of things, right?
Yeah.
And and what are we seeing going back to the Nolan Wells thing? What is happening? Pressure is being put on that medical examiner's office by Crump and by the public. And did you see that the judge, like, there's been an arrest for like death threats against the judge who is the parent or step parent of one of the kids. Like,
No, I hadn't seen that.
yeah, there's been an arrest because, like, I don't know what it is about like this tiny little segment of our community, right? This, like, true crime is so awesome in that we all, like, most of us are here not to be entertained, but to learn and grow, right? Like,
Yeah.
most of us are that way. But there's a little tiny segment of people that get so mad about things they go out and make threats against people. They make death threats. They do all sorts of things, and I just want to shake them. I almost said I
Tro-
want to strangle them. That's not right.
they're called trolls.
Yeah. Well, I dude got arrested, and I'm glad he did. If what is said that he did is true, that he was making death threats against this sitting judge who is the parent of one of the kids that was on the boat.
Yeah. That's,
Like, don't
well,
do that.
I saw that one of the kids was a judge's kid, and that just goes to show you the wealth, the
Hmm.
circle of wealth that we're talking about here. This ain't no hood
Hmm.
boy. This is a wealthy kid from a very wealthy home. And so that he has got, or his family has, many political connections already,
Yeah,
without Crump. So him coming in is just the cherry on top.
yeah,
You know.
and I think that's a pretty small community. That it's a little small coastal, but like a
Mhm.
wealthy enclave little community, right?
Very wealthy. Yeah. Yeah, they're not, and I think that's what rubs people the wrong way too, that they are so wealthy, but yet they're putting up GoFundMe's, raising millions of dollars. Like, I mean, I get it that they, like you said, a pathologist thing doesn't cost a quarter of $1 million, and I know that the wording in their post or release or whatever it was said that the rest would go towards, his memory, or something about his memory. And I mean, what does that mean? What's that
Yeah,
mean?
they get to use the money however they see fit. It's fine. It's just um,
It
yeah,
rubs people the wrong way.
sure.
Why are poor people gonna feel sorry for you and give you money when you're not even gonna spend your own money on your own kid's funeral?
Yeah, yeah. It's what
Wealthy.
for me. I guess where I'm falling on the Nolan Wells case is, let's see what the pathologist says. Please,
Mhm.
please, please, everybody, calm down. You know who the model citizens are for people who are like, hey, there's something wrong here, but I'm going to go about this the right way. It is Josh and Sandy Greenberg,
Mm.
right? So if you guys don't know the Ellen Greenberg story, she died by over 20 stab wounds, half of which were to the back of her head and neck. And the after the police intervened and did a very public pressure campaign against the medical examiner's office in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia medical examiner's office goes, yeah, we think she did this to herself. So Josh and Sandy Greenberg have shown not only grit and determination, but grace. They've been fighting this for 15 years. They've never called for heads. They've never, like, they happen to be of Jewish heritage. They never, like, brought up racism or bias or any anti Semitism. They have shown grace and grit and have a mission to undo what was unjustly done to their daughter without sending death threats and like whipping up trolls and like you know literally being the whole whipping up the like French provincial town with pitchforks and everything to go after the beast. That's what I think Crump is doing. I
Yeah.
think I think he's Gaston in this case. He's like he's just whipping everybody up. Let's go kill the beast. Let's go kill the beast. And
Yes, I agree. He's fanning the flames. He's doing exactly what Officer Tatum said he was doing. He's fanning the flames of racism, stoking that fire, trying, and that's dangerous. It's really
yeah,
dangerous. But maybe not where I live, but where this has taken place, that kind of stuff really puts people's lives at stake, don't you
yeah,
think?
yeah. I mean, the thing is that there are like multiple things that feel like they're competing can be true at the same time.
Yes,
It
they
is the
can.
South. there has been racism. Come on, right? There has been racism and it continues to happen there, and like all of those things are true. But it could
Yeah.
also be true that this poor kid suffered an accident. So
Yeah.
let's
I think if the friends are involved in some kind of big cover up, like they said in the 911 call in the background, you could hear them saying, "Nolan, is he dead?" I I don't think that that's what's being said. I can't tell. I don't know. I know it does kind of sound like it, but um, I just feel like if that's what happened, there was too many of them to keep a secret.
yeah.
You know, there's somebody always breaks. Somebody's the weak link in the group. Not everybody's going to be able to stand up to questioning
Yeah.
and not cave to the guilt and the pressure of the police, especially some young, rich kids that have never dealt with the police before. You let the police put the fear of God in them, and I'd say they'd roll right on over unless they're very well versed in legal
Yeah.
what to do.
There's a case. I'm not going to bring up a name because boy does it stir up a lot of people to anger. So I'm going to keep
Okay.
this name free, right? But I am aware of a case
Yeah.
where not on the water, but similarly, there was a group of friends, most white and one black, who were out drinking, doing stupid things underage, driving, and doing just all sorts of stupid things. And the minority lost her life, ugly in an ugly, ugly fashion, right? And
Mm.
it's in like it's in all of us to go, oh, is this a victim? Because she represents victimhood for centuries, right? Like oppression for centuries. And so I think it's natural for us to go, wait a minute, let's look at this closely because there's something untoward here, and all of these friends are rich and they lawyered up, and it's like all these flags. But then when I got the entire case file, see, in this particular case, her family had also been whipping things up, right? Well, I did sunshine law requests, and I did open records requests, and I did Freedom of Information Act requests, and I got the entire case file, and I am convinced that it was a terrible, terrible accident. And it's like, and I want it to not be that.
Yeah.
Like in
Yeah.
my instinct in me is going, it shouldn't be that, but you look at all the evidence. So I'm hoping in Nolan Wells' case, the evidence will come up and it will give us a clear indication of which.
Yeah. I'm surprised that there's not more video. Are you not? That that people haven't come forward with more video that was there that day.
That is a little surprising. You're right. On the other hand, like when I'm on the boat, that's maybe the only time my phone is away.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, we are kind of older generation too. These are young kids that grew up on phones.
yeah.
Now, somebody said something about his phone being left on the boat because of salt water. Do you know what that's about? Is if you drop your phone in salt water, is it just gone or something? What was
Well,
the
I don't
significance?
know specifically what somebody's saying, but salt water is highly corrosive.
Okay.
Highly corrosive, even to like on the inside of a PCB, typically the the printed circuit board. And just to give you my bona fides on this, I worked in high-end audio for decades. I, I I'm not an engineer. I've never designed a PCB, but I've been
Yeah.
around this so much that I have just tons of knowledge. I have a deep knowledge base on this. But on a printed circuit board, even if it's multi layers, typically those tracings, those circuits are in copper. But when they are on the surface, they're typically covered in gold because it's the least corrosive metal.
Mm.
Salt water will corrode it. It it won't corrode gold, but it will like seep underneath that plating and it will corrode the copper underneath it, and it will like it'll flake off the coating and it'll do all sorts of stuff. So yeah, the salt water and circuits are not friendly at all.
Well, I'd seen that somebody had said that that was a practice that they often did, was not take their phones out, because they might drop them in the water. But so we don't know if the phone was purposefully left behind by Nolan or if it was accidentally left behind by
Yeah,
Nolan.
is there cell reception out there on that island? Because that would change the calculus for me, right? Okay, and having cell reception isn't the only reason to have a phone on you. You might want to take pictures and video and stuff like that. So I get that. I'm just saying, if there's no cell reception, um, so and he is like, I've met this beautiful young lady that I would like to really get to know better, and it's not like the phone is going to help me find a ride back anyway. I'm going to be on my own anyway. It does kind of feel like, well, just leave it on the boat because I'll pick it up. It feels like these kids were on boats all the time, right? This is part of their life. I'll just get
Mhm.
my phone when I get back. I'm not
I
saying
agree.
that is what happened. I'm just saying there's so many reasons why he could have left the phone on the boat. Beyond the whole, what teenager leaves their phone behind? Well, a teenager that spends a lot of time in the ocean, is out on an island with no cell reception. He doesn't care about showing off or taking pictures and videos because his mind is focused on
Yeah.
that, right? I,
Well, I think that uh, regardless, I don't necessarily think that the boy, his friends, had anything to do with it. That's just what I'm leaning towards right now.
maybe they left because there was an emergency. The boat was taken on water. They needed to get it back. And something nefarious happened over there by somebody else. That yeah, there's more. There's more than a binary choice, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know how, well, I don't do well in the sun all the time. Oh, ever. I don't do well in the sun ever. You don't know if one of them maybe needed to go to the bathroom and just didn't say anything to the rest of them. I mean, you just never know what's going on inside somebody's head and why people do things that.
Especially idiot teenagers. Like
Hmm.
especially idiot teenagers. So my I keep saying this, but what I'm hoping happens here, but I think the likelihood is very low, is that the investigation gives a clear picture of the facts of what happened. That's what I hope.
That might be a little bit wishful
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
Okay. We'll just keep on wishing, honey. We'll keep
Yeah.
on wishing.
Yeah. Hey, switching gears to another case. This
Yeah.
week, we learned, we learned, it was early this week, it was on Monday, that in the Celeste Rivas case, this is switching over to the David Anthony Burke case, Celeste Rivas, he,
Tragic.
and she's a little girl.
Yep.
Um, as we had been reading documents that had come out on the case, one of the things that I kept wondering was, how did an adult man, he's a young adult man, but an adult man,
Yep.
travel with a minor of no relation to him to England? And nobody saw or recognized anything. And it came out in testimony that her parents signed a form, a release, a permission form for her to travel internationally.
A permission slip.
Yes. Like this
Interesting.
case, the adults that are surrounding these stupid idiots. Yes. Yep.
They bought that girl. They bought that girl. And it's not like I'm going to give you $10,000 and you give me your kid. No, that's not how it works. I've seen it right here in Letcher County. They just start getting real good friends with the family or whatever. They see that they've got money, and immediately they're like, "Oh, hi, how you doing? Well, you want to go shopping? Yeah, I need. Yeah, yeah, yeah." So next thing you know, they've bought everybody in the family a new phone. You know, all the siblings, the parents, and they'll take them out to eat. They put new filled the fridge full of groceries, take them shopping and get them new wardrobes, take them out and buy them new shoes. You know, those are the things that's what grooming
It's
is.
seductive. Yeah.
Yeah. And the person that's being groomed is like, "Oh, well, there, I ain't never had this before. I like this, You like that attention. I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?" And then the next thing you know, Junior's being getting caught in the corner, one day when they're carrying the groceries in the house or something, just take your
Yeah.
pick, in the car or, wherever, and getting groped or whatever. And then that person's like, "Oh gosh, well, I can't tell nobody. Oh man, my
I
mom
would
won't
give up
believe
my meal ticket.
it. I'll lose my phone. I'll
Yeah.
lose. I won't be able to go to the party this week. I won't have no money, or mom won't be able to buy groceries for the baby, or whatever. You just name your poison on it.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
it works.
I don't, yeah. I think that every adult around David Anthony Burke saw dollar signs. They're just like,
Absolutely.
he is generating money. And I think
We
about like, he grew up, he even said, like, he grew up in a very strict religious home, right? A religious environment, which, I mean, I have no commentary on that part of it other than once he started generating money, it sure seemed like, this kid's an artist. No, he's not the great Satan. He's not doing horrible things. He's an artist.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's making how much money now? And he's driving what kind of car now? And he's moving to LA. He's living in what house now? And
Yeah.
everybody, I think his own family, I think Celeste's family, I think every smarmy, uh, just slimy lawyer, manager, agent, whatever that was in his circle just saw money and just did not even care. I bet
Yeah.
there were 10 people that knew what was in the trunk of his car.
Oh, I bet too. I bet too. And everybody just trying to go about it, scared to death that it'll be found out. Just waiting
Not
every
because they
day.
care about the 14-year-old girl that is in pieces in a black bag. It's that, we're
They don't
having a
want to
good
go to
time
jail.
here.
Yeah, they don't want to. And she's not going to be the only one.
No, you're right.
Somebody said if they hadn't caught him when they did, could he have been a serial killer?
Oh man, somebody with means, like like that's the scariest kind. Somebody who has the means. Oh, there
Hmm.
was a movie that was so good with Kevin Costner and Demi Moore called Mr. Brooks. Have you seen that?
Uh-uh.
Has William Hurt. This is a movie that I probably watch every year. Like every once in a while I just go, "Oh, I should watch Mr. Brooks again." And it is the story of a guy that has a sickness, a drive to murder. It's a sexual pleasure for him. and he is played by Kevin Costner. And that sickness that is in him is embodied in William Hurt as an actor it's like his dark passenger riding along, tempting him to do stuff. It's really, really
Yeah.
well written. But the scary
Yeah.
thing is he's a rich, pillar of the community, CEO of a company, that kind of thing. And yeah, so he has money and he's figured out exactly how to do this and not get caught. And could you imagine somebody like David Anthony Burke growing up and learning, being taught by the people around him, one, that it's okay that you did these kinds of things because you're our meal ticket. Two, you can get away with it and they can be little children. You did it once, you can do it 100 times.
Yep. It's terrifying. And I think that there's a whole lot of them out there. I think that a whole lot of, like, in the cities where you've got a lot of the homeless and stuff, I think that a lot of them go missing. And um, I think that we probably got several serial killers that would be classified as that we
Sure.
just don't know about.
Elizabeth, I grew up riding my bike in front of the house of a serial killer. Like when I
Oh,
would go visit my friend, like Joseph D'Angelo is from
oh my,
my is from like a neighboring neighborhood. When I would ride my little bike to go see my friend, I would ride right past his house. I did it like I don't know, like daily. Some weeks, right? It was like riding back and forth a couple times, and it was freaking the Golden State Killer. Yeah, they're in our neighborhoods, man. No, I'm
you're,
not making this up. I'm not making this up.
oh my
He lived
gosh.
like he didn't live in my little development. He lived in the neighboring one. I grew up in
Yeah.
Orangevale, right on the border of Citrus Heights. He lived in Citrus Heights, right on the border of Orangevale. And yeah, like and I was an '80s kid, right? So I'd get home from school and nobody was home. Mom and dad are both working, so it's just hop on your bike, go see your friends, and be home before dark, kind of a thing. That's the '80s were a glorious, glorious time to be a child.
I was
But
a latchkey kid at that time too.
yeah, so yeah, I would go ride my bike, and in fact, I remember like I don't remember seeing his face, and like when I saw him when they caught him, I didn't go, oh, there's old Mr. D'Angelo, right? I didn't have that experience, but I do remember the house creeping me out. Like,
Wasn't he a cop?
not in Sacramento. He was in the Central Valley,
A
but
former. He'd been a former policeman.
yeah, he was a grumpy guy. He would like stand out wearing like his V-neck undershirt and a pair of shorts, like watering his lawn, kind of a guy. Just like he just he just he just
Uh,
yeah. I didn't. I went on the other side of the street. His house was like near a bend of the street, and I'll just kind of go diagonal.
I can't
So
believe you remember that.
oh yeah, like this would have been starting in about sixth grade for me when I started doing that. So yeah, it's 1986, 1987, 1988, right around in there.
Lord goodness, I don't remember 2 o'clock today.
Oh, that's funny. No, but your point is like if there's one DeForvita, there are 30 DeForvitas. If there are 30 of them, there are 300, right? And the other thing I thought about when you said that is there's probably more than one Celeste for
Yeah,
David Burke.
yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
And parents signing off on trips to London. Oh,
But wouldn't the police have found that during their investigation? Would they not have been able to, whenever they did like the phone requests or the phone records and stuff like that? Wouldn't they have found other
other
victims?
victims? Yeah, you're probably right. We probably would have heard about it by now.
I guess it would depend on how far back they look.
Well, and I don't know that they would necessarily be murder victims.
True, true.
It might just be other. I mean, he started grooming that child when she was 11.
11. Yep. Happens all the time. I mean, this happens all the time. It happens right here in these hollers. all the
Yeah.
time. Go up the head of the holler and get me a cigarette. Send your 8-year-old daughter up to somebody's house, knowing knowing that dirty old man's gonna do something. I mean, I see it all the time. I
That
know how
that
it was
is
done to me, so I know. And there's a there's a discernment, I guess, that then comes with that as we get older and become an adult. I can spot them a mile away, the dirty old men.
mm, yeah, and the vast majority of predators like that are men. However, there was a case in the San Francisco Bay Area of like a 26-year-old therapist at a juvenile hall was arrested this week or this month. I think it was this week. Attractive young woman having SA'd like a 14-year-old boy in juvenile detention. And the way that she got caught was he was staying out past curfew. As a juvenile offender, he had certain, requirements to be back at home and everything like that. And it was because she was encouraging him to break curfew to come over. And he's like 16 by this point, right?
And
So,
she didn't think that would get her caught.
like, how's
What?
like she's a college graduate. She's a therapist. Come on,
That's ego. That's their own
must be.
ego. To think that they're the smartest person in the room and that nobody will ever know.
Yeah, but that I mean, I posted about that this week as well. And let me see if I can. I'll show you her picture. Of course, we don't have his picture. He's a juvenile, and we shouldn't have it. Where is she? I'm getting there. She is. Uh,
Oh,
can't even believe it. But
read that.
she's a behavioral health clinician at a juvenile detention center, and now facing SA charges.
Well, right there it says 17-year-old boy. That's why they think 17
But
is
he was
close.
14 when she started. That's the thing. She was 14, or he was 14 when she started that behavior.
So how old would that have made her?
Now she's 26, so she would have been 23.
Yeah.
Right. Let me check that. She is. Yeah, she's 26 now. So that's like David Anthony Burke right there. Like in the power imbalance, and I know, like statistically speaking, it's the dirty old men, but there are predators everywhere, and they are good at camouflage, man.
They're starting to catch more and more women doing it. And, you know, I think about the way that schools are set up, and you think about the way that it's human nature, I guess. You think about like the jails and all these places where these forbidden romances end up taking place sometimes. It's because that's where they're always at. That's where they spend the majority of their time. um you know you Ben Fields, the one that the
Mm-hmm.
deputy,
Yep.
he started working down there at the jail, and his soon to be wife and was married to somebody else. Well, they started having an affair, and the next thing you know, they're divorced and then they're married. You've got another one that works down there that has reportedly had 5 wives from the jail. He's been there 20 years, and he's taken 5 wives home from the jail. He's on house wife number 5 right now. Um, it it feels like that's what happens.
Well, a school is a good place for a female predator to
Yes,
prey
hide,
on. Yeah.
fit in.
And this is not to say, of course, that every female teacher is a predator. That's not the thing, right? It's like It's going to be a tiny little percentage of them. But look, if I'm a 14-year-old boy and a grown woman looking like that is interested in me, I'm interested. I got all
Flattered.
my hormones like running around in my body. I don't even know what to do, right? That's can't blame that kid. Like
Yeah.
it's a different kind of essay, right? It's like it's very very different that but the power imbalance still exists and the maturity difference still exists and yeah.
Well, and it's what they're around. It's what they're influenced by, and with. Like, I'm a single mom of two teenage boys, 15 and 16. But I've never went out on dates, and I had a very short marriage, very, very, very short marriage. But um, in the last, well, 15 years since they've been born, I've been single since they've been born. And neither one of my kids, they've not had it around them. They've not seen me go out and put a lot of, um, like, I didn't have men. I just never did date. I never exposed them to any kind of sexual activity at all
Hmm.
at home, in our home. But I know, for somebody else who might be married, say you're mom and dad and you're the same mom and dad of three kids. Well, maybe you're a big lovey dovey couple, and you're very affectionate in front of your kids. Well, they're going to have more exposure to that. Maybe they might hear sounds in the middle of the night, through their
Yeah.
walls. My kids don't do that. They've never heard that, or so I don't know. Mine are very, like, they know everything, but they're just not interested in it yet. It's not something that has made them, like, not, they don't. I don't know. I'm super proud of my kids. I'm so thankful, because I know what kind of stuff my was that I was exposed to as a kid,
Yeah.
and I would never ever do it to mine.
Yeah. Well, I know you got to get out to a ball game. Thank you so much
Sorry,
for
I didn't.
coming back
Oh,
on a Friday. I enjoy our talks, and
yeah.
yeah, enjoy that ball game. And if you live stream tonight, I hope everybody goes over and checks her out. I've got her linked in the description down below. Elizabeth Jones, Hillbilly Crime. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Gavin. See you next Friday.
We'll see you next time. Guys, thank you for joining on another Friday edition of just kind of a good hang out here with me and Elizabeth. We are taking the weekend off. Taking the weekend off, and we will be back on Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. And of course, it goes out to Spotify and all the places. So thank you all very, very much. And with that, I bid you adieu, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.